Welcome everyone to another Thursday evening live stream. Bitcoin has been toying with our emotions as we can't quite smash through those all-time highs. But the bears also are a little hesitant to seriously pull the trigger as well. So let's just take a look at some different time frames, some strategies I like to use, and so on to just get a better look at things. With that, as always, I am going to zoom right out to the weekly chart here just to get a feel for the market before we end up zooming our way in. That's what I love to do. And so yeah, just starting with the weekly. I mean, not much changes on my analysis with the weekly chart at the start of my streams, you guys. I've been talking basically the same things over and over. As long as we're holding above this green box here, I think the market's in a fantastic place. And I mean, I talked about this last stream that I think we were going basically straight up for a few days. And when the market turned around and just saw, I think it was only like 2 hours of selling, I started seeing a lot of people claiming that the bull market was over. And I found that quite funny because, man, people in crypto are so impatient. And I think that's why a lot of people are flip-flopping their emotions so much. I mean, whoever's a moon boy today is probably a perma bear tomorrow, and vice versa. So, I mean, we see that all the time. As it stands right now, I think as far as the weekly chart goes, we have been just setting higher highs and higher lows. Nothing here concerns me yet. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of weakness. That's nothing too crazy to be expected when we're testing all-time highs. This is the most serious resistance that Bitcoin's faced to this day. Basically, I mean, we've obviously wicked a little bit higher, but as it stands, this is the main resistance area here, where we set our market cycle top last cycle. Not too shocking to see the bears want to test that, or people in longs from down here taking profits, playing the entire range swing. Not too crazy to assume that kind of thing will happen. And yeah, obviously we have market makers trying to push the price down and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, as it stands, I mean, this yellow line right here, a lot of people would consider this the higher low of the trend just because we had this little consolidation here. Yeah, it might be a higher low, but it's just not confirmed to me yet, in my opinion, until we end up smashing above our current highest high. Once that happens, I will be changing this yellow line. Actually, I would end up moving it down to where we basically, if we end up smashing these highs and setting another higher high, I move the higher low to the lowest point between the two, right? And in that case, this green box would basically move up to here. But as it stands right now, it's yellow because I'm not considering it that higher low support yet. It's just kind of on my radar that, hey, if structure changes again, at that point, this will be my new higher low. So as it stands right now, I don't know, in my opinion, as long as we stay above $50,000, I think Bitcoin's in a beautiful position for the long term. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do, and this is a big if, but if we come back down and test these levels, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a little bit of a fake out below, maybe test the top of this wick here, which was around 48,000. That was actually when we got shut down on the immediate ETF approval there. That's where we got rejected there, which was a fib that I had been watching for, well, some of you guys who have been in this group for as long as I have, for a couple of years. You guys know at the end of 2022, I was actually already calling for us to end up rallying up to this point. Honestly, I thought we'd see a harsher rejection. That got invalidated when we started closing above that, and the structure just continued to the upside. So that's how I'm looking at the chart right now as well. Until something changes in this structure, I'm just not all too worried about it. I can bring up a couple of my favorite indicators here. Actually, that's a beautiful thing too here. This buy trend on the trend collection indicator. Notice that the buy support of this trend is right at that box that I was just talking about. This was not premeditated, nothing like that. I did not, to be honest, I never even looked at the weekly chart before starting this stream. It just happens to, we see the indicators lining up with that structure point as just a little added confluence. So that's another thing I absolutely love to see. Yeah, we're seeing this reversal warning, or these reversal warnings at the previous all-time high here, but we're not seeing a very harsh rejection is the thing. And something that a lot of people overlook is not so much, a lot of people just want to look at rejection levels or bounce levels, but never actually watch how they're reacted with. And quite often, I mean, bears generally move about 3 times faster than bulls. And I mean, we're just not seeing a harsh rejection here. Obviously, hell, even during this stream, that could change. We could just absolutely nuke to these levels. I'm still not going to be worried as long as we're closing candle bodies on the weekly above this green box here. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it just looks like we're testing a very serious horizontal resistance level from our previous all-time high. And yeah, we're seeing a bit of struggling, but we're not seeing any sort of crazy reaction, any sort of crazy rejection or anything like that. So as soon as, like I said, if we get a candle body closing above this high here, I am going to be insanely bullish at that point. And even to zoom out a little bit more, I'm actually going to remove my drawings. Something that has me quite bullish on the long term is actually this. I mean, just look at this all-time high on the monthly chart, and we actually got a candle body close above this. Some of you guys may have been in my stream. This would have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. But basically when this candle was about to close, I think it was a few days away. And I basically mentioned that if we get a candle body close above that all-time high resistance, don't be surprised to see us wick down and fill this entire candle. Just like if this was a 5-minute chart, a 1-hour chart, hell, even a 4-hour, a daily chart, nobody would second guess the possibility that we pull back into a candle. But on a monthly, and I believe my exact words were, watch us close above this level, pull back and fill this entire candle, and watch everyone start shitting their pants, I think was my exact words. And that's exactly what we've seen across social media as we test that. So yeah, again, another thing, you know, and then watch for if we close a monthly candle above this, like let's say this candle here ends up closing red, and then our next candle gets a close above this, which would technically, we have a high. This would be our higher high at this point. If we end up testing another higher high, at that point, this becomes our higher low on a monthly time frame, and that is very serious structure. I want to be quite clear about that. So obviously, there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in the economy, or just things change. I mean, a monthly time frame, so much can happen within a few candles, right? So take it for what it is. But as it stands right now, that's a very serious structure break in my opinion. And I mean, until that changes, at least on the weekly, I'm going to remain quite bullish. So I'm actually just going to reload how the chart was. And yeah, like I said, indicators kind of giving us a little extra confluence as support down here. And I'm going to erase all the drawings. Look how beautifully this trend collection indicator has played the weekly chart. This is just insane. I think the only failed call that it had was basically right here, this sell call. And that was during COVID. COVID triggered that sell signal when the markets were absolutely going nuts. And then obviously we know what happened. The money printers turned on and all that sort of thing, quickly regained that level. And look what happened when we got our buy signal, right? But just looking back even to the start of time here with Bitcoin, where was our first signal, would have been right here. I mean, look at that. Would you just look at it? And then sell signal, buy signal, this sell, like I said, a little bit of a fake out, buy, sell. Like these were all placed well before a very serious move. And those trends, especially the buy trends, tend to last for quite a long time, and you get some very significant moves from them. So to me, it just looks like we're kind of curling to the upside. I still strongly believe that an all-time high smash is not far away. I just think that the market makers and everybody is just basically toying with our emotions right now. Generally speaking, market cycles do get longer. So the fact that, you know, last cycle we struggled at all-time highs for about 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, you can see right in here, that was the all-time high. We were struggling at that level for 4 weeks before we smashed through. And now kind of the same thing. We've been struggling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks kind of a thing. So a little bit longer, but again, we're just consolidating, just tapping away at that resistance. I really just can't get rid of this gut feeling that it's only a matter of time until if we set that higher high at this point and change that structure, giving us a confirmed higher low like that, I think it's just going to be, I think we're going to see a crazy short squeeze. I think we're going to see a lot of sell orders pulled. Volume. Here's one thing to watch for, guys. I know a lot of people like watching volume a lot to confirm whether or not a breakout is real. One thing to consider when the market goes full parabola, you might not necessarily have that volume that you're expecting to see, because really what can happen is when we have that supply shock after the halving, there's just and bigger players in the space scooping up all those mined bitcoins. You're going to see that bit of a supply shock eventually from the halving. Yes, on a day-to-day basis, I had zero interest on trading based on what I thought the halving was going to do, but that is basically the one fundamental I actually do take quite serious with Bitcoin. You guys know normally I'm just a chart guy. I don't give a shit about fundamentals, and even that one, it's just one of those things that supply and demand is basically how all markets run. And if you're cutting the supply in half like that and people are still scooping in or scooping them up, you really only have one thing to do, right? I mean, watch for those divergences. If you could spot that, like, hey, the spot price is actually higher than what the leverage price would be, for example. That's just a good sign that, hey, market makers are actually just trying to keep the price down. Whereas spot, that's not so much a thing, right? So if you start to notice that when you see spot prices higher than margin prices, that's generally quite a bullish sign, and just showing that supply shock is kind of in the process of happening. So that's something to watch for. Gonna zoom in a little bit, going to the daily chart here. You'll notice this looks a little bit different. I did change something. I got this from Smallio, actually. I noticed that he had pointed it out before, of just getting rid of wicks on candles sometimes if looking for structure. Generally speaking, when I'm mapping out trend lines and chart patterns and that kind of thing, I do typically use wicks, and I base all my trend lines and everything. I do include wicks myself. Everybody has their own way of doing things, but I just like to look sometimes at the 4 hour or the daily without wicks and just kind of look at the raw structure, because although with trend lines and stuff I do consider wicks, it is still the candle closes that I consider a lot more information rather than where a wick may have got to, right? I know I heard Smallio talk about this in one of his streams, was that just basically nobody talks about the monthly open, the weekly open, or the weekly close, the daily close, all that kind of stuff, right? Or sorry, everyone is talking about the closes, not the wicks. Sorry. It's always the daily close, the daily open, the monthly open, monthly close, all that sort of stuff. That's more what's important. So sometimes I like to get rid of the wicks and just see the structure. On the 4 hour, looking at the pros and cons right now, I feel like the market, it does feel weak right now in the midterm. But something I do notice right off the bat here is that we have this little bit of a structure break. Now this is reaching, this is micro analyzing, but just looking for structure on the 4 hour here is this run here. Just going to talk about this rally here. Basically, our highest low was right here. And when that broke, I mean, we can see what happened. The floodgates opened. But so basically we had high, higher high. That confirms this as our higher low. We break that structure. I'm sure if you zoomed in, you would have a lot better opportunity to get in with, candle closes below that and seeing a little more consolidation on shorter time frames. But we can just kind of see how that played out. And now we actually have, we set this low, and we did technically set this lower low here. So I was looking at this as a lower high, and we have broke above that level. So I would love to see this hold. This isn't going to be an exact Stuber fib because I do include wicks when I do them, but I'd be looking at something like that because we have the structure break, and then you're looking for some kind of a pullback. Sometimes they don't come. I want to be clear about that when I'm trading Stuber fibs, and that's kind of one thing as well. Sometimes I'll share them in the signals group, not that often, but the charts change so much on the time frames that I'm playing. It would be quite annoying to everybody involved if I was posting that, oh, hey, this structure changed on the 1 minute, so here's the new Stuber fib kind of a thing, right? But yeah, that's basically what I look for, a break of a lower high, and I would love to see a pullback. So that's something to watch for. Gonna zoom right in, talk about two different positions that I currently have open. One is this short. Basically, the market was just feeling a little bit weak. We ended up basically breaking this little bit of structure here. And then, or no, sorry, that wasn't it. Because this was our run here. We had this high, higher high. And again, guys, this is the 1 minute. Take it for what it is. I'm just basically showing how I was looking at things. You can see that we had this high, higher high. This would have been our higher low. That ended up actually breaking. We did get candle bodies closing below that. And then when we saw this little bit of a bounce, basically I saw us lose another higher low just on a more micro-analyzed little trend there. Basically, I was just seeing a lot of weakness there. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pull the trigger on a bit of a short there. I am also in a small long from down here. Very, very minimal loss right now so far. This is just a hedge. This position's actually only half the size of my short. And the only reason I'm taking it is basically because I pulled a fib from this lower low signal here up to the higher high signal, just looking at that entire range here, and just kind of hoping that that Stuber fib would hold. We did get this little swing fail down here, and we're back in the Stuber fib pocket. To be honest, it's looking weak to me, but this is just a hedge. If it gets stopped out, that means my long position is more juicy than it was before. And at that point, I would also be looking to close a part of my short position. If my long ends up taking a loss there, I'll be looking to close a part of my short just to counteract that loss, right? Basically, I want to make sure that I still take some profits on the short, and then I would probably be looking at updating my stop loss depending how the structure looks at that point. As it looks right now, kind of looking at this as potential resistance. So if we end up just, dumping and hitting my stop loss, then I'll be basically bumping up my stop loss on my short to just somewhere above this range here. But we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, that's basically, I honestly didn't really want to open a long position right here. But I am, like I said, sometimes I like to hedge myself just so that, if I'm wrong, if all of a sudden the market is going to reverse, it would have been silly if I saw, right into my fib pocket there and just avoided it completely. So I figured I'd at least throw in a small hedge against my other position. So that was kind of my reasoning there. What else? Let's take a look at some indicators, actually, see what things are saying. Actually going to remove a few drawings just to clean things up for you guys a little bit here so we don't go colorblind. Yeah, let's go something like so. I haven't played with Scalp Master much yet. I have it here. I've been bringing it up the odd time. I do like the look of it. I just haven't played around with it enough to develop any of my own strategies or anything like that with it yet. That is something that I'm planning to do, though. I mean, you guys know I love scalping, so the name of this indicator just screams my name on it. I do still bring it up to point out things like this. Just another reason why having that little bit of a hedge long. I do like the confluence with this that, hey, it seems like we're in a bit of a ranging market right now, and we are near the bottom of that range. So, I mean, support is support until it's broken. So, that's where I'm willing to start hedging longs anyways, right? But I do want to play around with it a lot more. I have noticed a few times that I've got these long entries, for example. Also, I've seen it on the short side. but I've seen them in the Stuber pocket, and then I've seen the stop loss just right around my invalidation fib too. You guys know I generally, this is not on the price or anything, but generally I have the 115 as my invalidation fib. Lately I've been noticing it, basically the price going right to that level. I've been loosening my stop losses a little bit usually. Just because the market's so volatile, I've also I haven't been playing Stuber fibs as much. I've been looking more for those swing fails, because when the market's this volatile, you do still see them quite a bit, and that just tightens up your stop loss a little bit further yet. So in uncertain conditions, I don't mind tightening up the risk a little bit. So yeah, I might be getting less positions or just quicker to take profits or whatever. But yeah, basically, generally speaking, my invalidation fib is the 115. That's why it's always on my charts. And I have noticed the stop loss from that indicator be right around that level quite often. And I don't think the indicator is like set on that or anything, because I've seen it not line up like that. But it is something I've noticed happen a few times. So that's one of those times where, hey, additional confluence, right? Because just one signal, for example, like every time there's a long signal or every time there's a short signal or anything like that, I typically don't take individual signals all that serious on any indicator. Like I haven't played with that one all that much yet, but the trend dynamic and the trend collection indicators, I've been using those for quite a while. And generally speaking, I don't take individual signals, but I like to notice, which way those signals are trending. For example, going down here, notice how all these buy signals are trending to the upside. And look how beautiful of a move it got to the upside, right? As these buy signals were trending to the upside, we just saw this buy signal hold beautifully. Even these W's were all trending to the upside, right? I know this is old news for a lot of you in my streams, but there's a few newer faces around here. So I just want to kind of go over all this, and just as a refresher, because even myself, I overlook these things all the time. It's so hard to be paying attention to everything, and sometimes you just need to take a step back and have a little refresher. So yeah, upward sloping buy signals, upward sloping W's. I mean, that's the main thing that I love to use about it with indicators, is just helping me spot a trend, basically. Hell, even the sell signals. Sell signal, higher sell signal, right? So just everything's kind of trending to the upside at this point. And then all of a sudden we notice that, hey, W's are starting to trend to the downside. Sell signal with us. What else can we spot? We don't have a lower sell signal yet, but it looks like even if we get some kind of a buy signal, it's probably going to be a lower buy signal, right? So there is just a little bit of weakness showing in the indicators right now. Hopefully that's helpful, because that's something that I actually never did for the first probably few years of trading. Was I was always wondering, well, why are some signals on indicators so strong and then some just seem to be nothing but a little bit of a fake out, or just a very short bounce or a short reversal or whatever. But I find that and again, you're still looking for confluence, right? It's not just, let's say, oh, buy signals are trending to the upside, time to go 100x long or anything like that, right? You're still looking for your own trade setups and stuff like that, but having that confluence from the indicators, just, hey, they are trending in this direction. I believe from this that, I'm trading the right direction, kind of a thing. Vikings 0.65 and 1.2 TP fit into the scalp indicator and match super fibs. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen him look at it yet. I gotta go back. I've been busy this week, so I gotta go back and watch a few videos. But yeah, I'm really interested to see. I don't think there is one in the academy yet, but I'm sure there will be a video about this indicator quite soon. Yeah, what else? I could take a peek at a couple shit coins here. I know a lot of us in the group, I don't know how many of us in here with me right now, but I know a bunch of people in the group are in this DFTU, don't fuck this up. I actually posted in the micro gems yesterday that I was coin collecting on this one, and basically I ended up selling some, and I was looking to buy back when we got near the 786, and look at that. So basically the way I do that, so that's actually how I learned to trade, you guys. It's not necessarily always a good idea to go straight from nothing into high leverage trading. That's actually quite dangerous. I never traded leverage at all for my first year or two. I can't remember exactly how long, but I was just spot trading, and I was looking at coin accumulation basically. So it's kind of fun to start doing that again with some of the positions that I'm not necessarily looking at buying more of, but I don't mind selling and rebuying cheaper. So I'm actually collecting more coins, but for free. And it just kind of helps take that emotion away from trading based on dollar amounts too. If you lose a few coins, you might be more okay with that and trade the market with a more level head than if you actually have dollars on the line, right? So I just found it was a good way to kind of wrap my head around the actual trading aspect of it rather than the money so much right off the bat. So yeah, so far holding that 786. Love to see that. Apparently there's some kind of a marketing campaign starting fairly soon. What else? Another funny one I got into on Friday when me and a couple of the boys were having some drinks. This rub the rubbit. I ended up getting into this at like a $15,000 market cap, just a small position. I'm looking at these, you guys, as total gambles. But it was just a little 420 fun basically. Ended up throwing some money at this one, and yeah, ended up getting, like, we filled this wick here. You guys know that quite often when the market does, and I mean so many of these coins do this. Here, one sec, where is this? So many coins, when they first launch, they get this massive wick to the upside. I'll give it this. A lot of the meme coins just do something like this and then straight rug pull. So there is always that. They're high risk. They're risky as shit, even riskier than leverage, to be honest. But quite often in any chart, and that goes for Bitcoin, altcoins, anything, so often when you see a big wick like that, they tend to fill. And this is a perfect example that even on this total shit coin that's only a few days old or a week old or whatever, with a market cap of $54,000 at this point, even that respects that theory there. See if I can even do any analysis on this. Man, let's see, does it pick up any? Oh yeah, we would have had a Stuber fib there. Do we have a big one? Haven't quite got back down to it yet. Let's see, actually, since we had that big breakout. Oh, that's interesting. That's right in the fib. But yeah, you guys, like I said, these ones are so risky, so low market cap. It takes no money to move these things, and it also takes no money to move these things to the downside. So take it for what it is. Before I get too sidetracked on that, does anyone have any other questions so far? I'm actually going to wrap up quite soon here. Let me just check on my positions. Yeah, so my long's still in a little bit of a loss. My short's sitting good though. My long is sitting in an 8% loss, and my short's sitting in a 47% profit. So, and like I said, my long is only half the size of my short since it was a hedge, so I'm okay with that. ETH to BTC. Let's check it out. Let's just bring up another chart here. That's a chart I haven't looked at in a while. What time frame are you thinking? Like, how low of time frame? Near term? Here, I'll check. I'll start with an hourly. Mixed feelings about this chart. Mixed feelings. What do I all see here? So first of all, The big structure point that stands out at me right now from a bullish perspective is this one. We obviously had this low, lower high. We get that structure break. We never actually pulled back as far as I would have liked. You guys know I love the 786, 886 fib pocket. We obviously did not pull back to that level. Actually, just out of curiosity, I want to see, do we have a 382? Oop. Okay, that one didn't hold either. Just because quite often on a strong trend, you'll see the 382 fib end up holding as support. And then if that ends up dropping, then quite often we end up pulling it back to the 786, 886. The fact that we did drop it a couple of times is looking like there's a little bit of weakness there to me. But yeah, I do like that we did end up breaking above this lower high. Like if we end up basically breaking above this higher high right here, if we break above that, then I would be looking at this as basically a higher low, and I think that that would be a beautiful thing to see. Actually, I may have spoke too soon. I should probably go to the bigger structure point. So in that case, I would actually be looking at more so this as the higher low if we end up breaking out of this range. That's just how I like to look at it personally. Like obviously when I'm mapping out these price levels, these ranges, obviously there's smaller ranges inside the ranges. This is just kind of the big one that I'd be looking at as, hey, as long as we, if we break above this yellow line, as long as we hold above this bottom yellow line, we're actually still healthy. But there is also the chance that the very immediate trend just ends up taking off, right? So we break above that, then we could possibly, just looking for the smaller swing, we could bring up our higher low to that level. And you guys know I personally, breakouts are a little bit risky. I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of a pullback into the fib pockets that I love to see if we do end up getting that breakout. As it stands right now, one thing that does concern me a little bit is just zooming in even for, well, not even zooming in, I should say. Just looking at this structure, we had this high, this higher high. Here's our higher low, and we did actually lose that. We did get these closes below. So at that point, that's where I do look for Stuber fib setups, right? We have that break in structure. That's where I would have been looking at something like so for a trade setup. I got to get rid of that 618. That's driving me nuts. Or the 382 rather. And I'm also going to ditch these. So yeah, basically we have that structure break, this yellow line. And that's where I would then be pulling a Fibonacci. And you can see it actually did play out already is the thing. The entry would have been in this level here because the 786 all the way to the 1 and invalidation was not hit, obviously. And we did already hit my TP1, which would be the 05 fib. Very close to the second one, not quite, but depends how much you front run it by, if using that strategy, for example. So that is one thing that does concern me a little bit, that we do have that structure break to the downside. That totally gets invalidated, though, like I said, if we do end up setting another higher high. If we actually close above the wicks here, then that theory of that bearish structure break is invalidated. And that's where this would be my higher low. So yeah, there is that. Like I said, TP1 would have been hit already, so it's kind of a little bit late to show that setup. So maybe it's already played out and it will reverse already. But that's just kind of the range that I'm currently looking at. Let's see, what else do I notice? Down on the oscillator collection down here, we still do have this green money flow on the indicator, that middle band kind of thing. This thing. Love to see that as confluence. Love to see that there's actually some money volume there. What else? Scalp Master, we're kind of at the top of this range, but it Scalp Master is thinking a short. It kind of looks to me like it's trying to break out to the upside though. But like I said, I haven't really used this indicator much yet. Higher highs and higher lows on the auto charting tools here. And another thing, you guys, when I'm talking about finding confluence and stuff like that, I mean, I've shown so many Stuber fibs over the months, but one thing that I love to look for as that additional confluence as well is these pivotal points. That can be very helpful if you don't know where to set your fibs from, for example. So just saying like, yeah, if we end up breaking to the downside right now, I would love to see this chart end up kind of down to these levels, right? Because I'm pulling from this higher low to this higher high. And since those are bullish signals, basically pulling from one to the other and hoping to hit that pullback, basically. That would be totally healthy to see Ethereum do versus Bitcoin. What else? Let's turn that one off. Turn these guys on. See here, this looks not so bad. We do have higher buy signals. We have higher trending W's on both sides of things. Trying to hold this buy trend. It is looking a little bit weak because we see that this kind of like a trailing stop loss sort of thing has flipped above the price. So there's some things to be cautious of for sure. But I mean, that's how charts always look, right? I mean, you just got to weigh out your odds basically. Find out what trade setups work for yourself, because we could all have the same indicators, same trend lines. We would trade the market completely different. That's why I think back testing is so important at this game. I call it a game, I guess, but yeah, back testing very important just to notice like what your eye is trained to pick up, right? Because I'm gonna notice things from an eyeball. Like right now, I see a beautiful Stuber fib setup, for example. This is just, after a while, when you start trading certain things over and over, you just see them. I didn't even have to pre-map that out. I knew that we were testing the Stuber fib there. So everyone has a different eyeball and catches different things, right? What else? What else can we find here? But yeah, so far, still holding that buy trend. Still, everything's trending to the upside there. Still have that green money flow, so it doesn't look too bad. So that might be good for altcoins. Like I said, if we can break out of this range and actually set another higher high, confirming this higher low, I think altcoins would be in a good position in that case. The game, yeah. The game with our emotions. Yeah, still have a sell trend on the 1 minute. Let's see what the 5 minutes doing quick. See, like this also just looks weak to me, you guys. I really would not be surprised to see my long stopped out very soon. This is a higher sell signal. Maybe we'll see a higher buy signal come in, but these W's are already hinting at the downside. We have this sell signal. Like I said, it was just kind of looking weak. We haven't really retested any of these levels back here, which is another reason why I think that, if we end up losing, let's say, where's the majority of this resistance? I would say, or support rather, I'd say even, actually, you know what? This is just a little bit of freestyle in here, but I'm just trying to find if there's any potential diagonal trend lines to look for. I know not everybody likes diagonal trend lines. I personally do. I just like them to be exact. I like them really touching wicks and everything. So this one's very close to touching a lot of wicks. What do we got here? 1 touch point, 2 touch points, 3, 4, whatever. And now trying to flip that support into resistance. So if we do see sellers come in here, that's where I'd be looking for some sort of a Stuber fib pull again, right? Obviously, we don't have to get down here. That's another thing, you guys, when I do talk about these fib pullbacks and stuff, sometimes they're front run, right? Maybe we just end up staircasing a little bit lower, and then all of a sudden we get something like this. We don't quite reach it. And then look at that. All of a sudden we break our lower high structure, and then we set a new Stuber fib. Let's see how close my eyeball is on a quick hand draw like that. Yeah, right to the 786. So that's the kind of structure I'd then be looking at, right? So you're still looking for a Stuber fib, almost a fib inside a fib, right? Just like I talked about how there's smaller ranges inside bigger ranges. If you're kind of looking at more confluence, just more confirmation, rather than just taking a blind stab at these fibs, see if, even if it's on a 1 minute where we see us all of a sudden, test into this pocket and then all of a sudden set some sort of, break a lower high structure like that. That's just kind of looking for confirmations at a level you're already just got your eyes set on, right? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So yeah, we have to basically see what happens. I am a very strong believer, and I say this in probably every video, and some of you may be sick of hearing it, but I think it's important, is that it's so much more important to be able to react when trading than to predict. I could be mega bullish and still end up profiting off short positions just because, hey, I took a hedge or a scalp or whatever. I just reacted to something in the chart, right? That's something to consider, is that quite often when I map out trend lines and stuff, like if I'm mapping out trend lines on a bigger time frame, for example, well, I actually have one here. Totally forgot. I'm just going to clean things up again. So something like this, for example, right, is I was talking about alerts earlier, and it looks like I must have forgot to save or something. I know I had alerts set on these trend lines. But, I'm just, like I was talking about, I do use wicks. So I'm looking at the very outside of this range, basically. And I want to see, I'm not going to set just random limit long orders at this level, because so often, even if it's going to be a successful trade, you're going to see some sort of a liquidity grab, right? So I would rather see how we react with that level. So in a case like this, add alert on trend line once per minute, BTC 4 hours support. And now my phone will alert me every minute until I get annoyed with it if we end up testing that level. So basically it's a 4 hour trend line, but I'd be, zooming into, what's the 5 minute doing on that trend line, for example. Let's just zoom in here. That might be, yeah, so let's just say we do end up dumping to this level. We end up just nuking for whatever reason. We test this level. My phone starts to annoy me, so I look at what's going on. But what if there's just a wick like that, and then the candle bodies are still closing above? That's a beautiful shot at a long, in my opinion. As long as it's holding and it's just a bit of a fake out liquidity grab like that, that's where I'm starting to get bullish. And you know what? Even if I'm wrong, at least your invalidation is tight, right? You at least have some sort of a reference point. Whereas if you just set a random long here, you don't really have a reference point for that. That's just at least like immediate reference point, because obviously the more recent the price action is, the more weight it's going to carry just because it's fresh, right? So that's kind of how I like to play trend lines, is I'm not necessarily just taking blind limit orders. Actually, I never am. I should make that clear. But just seeing how those levels are reacted with. Everything about that kind of making sense, you guys? Oh, having a hard time loading here. Still really trying to hold on. We're not quite at my invalidation fib yet. It's looking weak, but support is support until it's broken. This is one of those times if I'm looking for basically updating my stop loss on my short. since we have this lower high signal here, something that I'll consider doing right now actually is looking at something like that and just bumping up my stop loss. I'm going to leave a little bit of wiggle room, but just to make sure that I do profit on it, be basically treating this fib as my invalidation for the short that I'm currently in. Just like if I was looking for a new short position, I would be eyeing up basically this whole range is kind of where I'd be more interested in taking a short position. Just because if your invalidation's way up here and you're entering a short way down here into support, I mean, obviously your loss is going to be massive. Your risk reward is not going to be good. Whereas if you can get in closer to your invalidation level, then at least even if you take a loss, because let's be honest, you guys, every trader takes a ton of losses. It's just about being able to control those losses. Not having, no stop losses on way over leveraged positions or anything like that. And you just keep doubling down to try and help your average entry or something like that. That's not a good way to do it. You should always have your invalidation levels in place. Seeing signs of life anyway. Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad you guys are liking it. I'm glad you guys are finding something useful in the things that I'm blabbing on about. Always appreciate the feedback. And obviously, you guys, if you guys do have any recommendations, any requests, anything like that, feel free to shoot me a message or say it in the chat, whatever. I don't have an ego and I don't mind taking constructive criticism, anything like that. So by all means, feel free. Painting is very clear picture. Perfect. My labs are most helpful. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys. Like I say every week, I like coming here and talking my thoughts to you guys because it's really easy to overlook things when you just keep opening the same chart and looking at it without actually explaining it out loud. It really helps keep your thoughts in order. So I honestly, this feels like a bit of a trading journal to me. You know how so many people will say you should have a trading journal to kind of keep track of everything going on. This is just a great way for myself to do that. It just obviously helps the memory to say things out loud. And if I ever forget something, hey, what was I looking at the other day again? I can always go back to my channel and check it out, right? So always appreciate doing these with you guys. Do I use bots? I do not. I have not yet. With the release of that Scalp Master indicator, yeah, I've been throwing around the idea of getting into setting up some sort of bots. Like even MDX's bot on BingX. Like I've never actually set one up, to be honest. Cause you can shoot me a message whenever. If I don't answer, just assume I'm busy. I'm not purposely ignoring. Bots are something I would be interested with it in the future, but I just haven't played around with it yet. Yeah, still seeing that weakness. Well, so far, this short's still looking good, so I'm gonna keep that running into the night, hopefully. Eventually, I'll have to start taking some profits on it. That was kind of what the hedge was for, though. Just basically so I didn't have to take profits, so that I at least, if we ended up reversing to the upside, I could have taken some on this one instead. But yeah, as it stands right now, eventually I'm going to have to start hitting that TP button, I guess. Stu is a bot. Sometimes. Let's see. Yeah. Anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. Hopefully you guys found this stream useful. For those of you that are watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you're interested in my favorite indicators here, as well as just getting access to the VIP Discord with live streams such as these, put on by not only myself, but also a handful of other very knowledgeable traders in the group, as well as if you need access to a no KYC exchange to get your DGen on, I have a couple links in the description down below for discounts and so on. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.